afternoon and welcome to this council meeting dated 18th of February 2026. I'd like to start by a mobile telephone reminder. Please turn off all mobile telephones, or in the case of an emergency, please advise the chair and switch to silent mode. I'd like to go to the statement of acknowledgement. And I believe I am doing the statement of acknowledgement, or were you doing that, Councillor Temby?
I thought I was, but you can...
No, please do.
We acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and waters and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging.
I think we did mix that up, Councillor Temby, so I'm going to read the councillor statement.
Another one round the other way.
We've had too long a break, haven't we?
We have.
Welcome back, everyone.
I can continue if you like.
I also want to just acknowledge we have Councillor Edwards online with us today, which is great to see. So the councillor statement: all members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on the individual merits of each item without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue. Item 1 on the agenda, present and apologies. We don't have any apologies today, so we'll move to item 2, declarations of interest. I do think we had one, okay, so no declarations of interest. Confirmation of minutes, councillors, for the meeting held on the 10th of December 2026. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Temby, seconder. Councillor Thompson, thank you. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Item 4 on the agenda, is Mayor and Councillor reports. Councillors will forego speaking to their councillor reports. They'll be included in the council minutes. However, we do have some veils to read today, unfortunately more than one. So I'll move over to Councillor Bauer for the first one, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. I'm glad to see so many here too. Andrew Robert Marsden was born on the 2nd of February 1954 and died on the 3rd of February 2026. He was a well-regarded engineer and much-loved member of the community. Andrew was an active member of the Bass Coast Ratepayers Association, Island Voice, PIMHAG and the Phillip Island Bass Coast Dog Owners Association. Andy embraced life on the road, travelling around Australia with his wife Linda and their beloved dogs. His gentle humour, generosity and quiet analytical mind made him someone people naturally gravitated towards. Andrew faced the onslaught of motor neuron disease in early 2025 with remarkable dignity and grace. Even as the illness rapidly limited his physical abilities, he continued to look for the good in each day and found moments of humour wherever he could. His instinct was always to help others, whether through blood, platelets, stem cell or organ donation, supporting community events, driving people to appointments, or being the ever-dependable Mr. Fix-It for his friends, full stop. Losing his ability to be active in these ways was one of the hardest parts of this illness. He was a very steadfast and a determined person. When he knew he could no longer cope, he exercised his right to leave this world through voluntary assisted dying, surrounded by his family. His legacy will live on through his organ and tissue donations. His tissue samples are being used in 14 various research projects, including MND. 2 recipients of his kidneys are doing well and about to be discharged from hospital. And he leaves behind his wife of 50 years, Linda, his son Chris, and his daughter-in-law Bianca, and his grandchildren Cade and Meander. Vale Andrew.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor O'Brien, you also have a veil.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Bob Davey. When my wife and I, Tricia, moved to Phillip Island to take over the Phillip Island winery. We did not expect to find such warm, generous and welcoming neighbours in Anne and Bob Davey and the Davey family. Of course, Bob, who passed away last month at the grand age of 90 years, was more than just a warm and welcoming figure. He was also a loved and active community leader, committed without reservation to making Phillip Island a more beautiful place, a more sustainable place, and a place where farming practices intersected effortlessly and positively with care for the land, for the wildlife, for all of those things that make Phillip Island so special. He, with his life partner Anne on their family farm Bimbadeen, were at the vanguard of land care, of carbon sequestration, and of all those wildlife corridors that add so much to the rural character of Phillip Island and the natural attraction it has become. He was also a very active breeder of Brangus cattle and would talk about them for hours on end to anyone who expressed a passing interest. As we heard at the celebration of Bob's life, he and Anne, who incidentally met over a shared chewing gum at the age of 14, his family being proprietors of Erewhon House and being a visitor. In addition to becoming the backbone of land care on the island, he also had a strong involvement and interest in a range of social justice and conservation issues and of matters impacting on the future and well-being of family farms there. Bob will be sadly missed by his family and missed by us all. He was one of the great ones. Vale and well done, Bob Davey.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. I have a veil for Terence James, known as Frosty Miller. It is with sadness that we acknowledge the passing of Terence James Miller, known to most as Frosty, a proud local, dedicated farmer and well-respected community man. Frosty was a man deeply connected to his community and the land he called home. Born on the 7th of May 1949, Frosty built a life grounded in hard work, resilience and practical skill. These qualities defined not only his livelihood, but also the way he gave back to the people and places around him. Frosty's contribution to community life in Kilcunda and the surrounding district was both significant and long-standing. His involvement with the Kilcunda Bass Football Netball Club began at just 11 years of age, when he started in the thirds, going on to play reserves through the late 1970s. Like many country football clubs, it became a second home. Frosty later served as president in 1984 and 1985, and again in 1992, and in recognition of his dedication and leadership, he was awarded life membership. He was also a familiar, much-loved figure at the Kilcunda Lobster Festival from its inception in 1985. Hands-on volunteering his time supporting the spinning wheel, providing his truck for the stage, or supplying hay bales for seating. Whatever was needed, Frosty was always willing to lend a hand to make community events a success. Frosty served his community through the Kilcunda CFA from 1975 to 1994, volunteering his time and skills to help protect local families, farms and properties. Service given selflessly and with great pride. His generosity extended to the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday Appeal, where each year he would purchase young steers, raise them on his farm and donate the proceeds from their sale. A quiet but powerful act of compassion supporting sick children and their families. Frosty was above all a family man. He was the proud father of Chelsea, Brooke, Todd, Ryan and Bree, and a much-loved figure in the lives of his extended family and friends. Together, his contributions reflect a man who believed deeply in community, in showing up, helping out and supporting others without fanfare. On behalf of Bass Coast Shire Council, we extend our heartfelt condolences to Frosty's children, his family and the many friends, neighbours and community members whose lives he touched. His legacy lives on in clubs he strengthened, the causes he supported and the community he helped build. May Frosty Miller rest in peace. I just wanted to also add, Councillor Bauer, that Frosty also passed from MND. So that's two wonderful community members that we lost within 2 weeks of each other, and is so important why charities such as the Big Freeze, which I often participate in, are so important.
As
I do.
Danaher says, the beast.
That's right, that's right. I do have one more. Thank you for your patience, but we really do feel strongly about acknowledging community members who give so much to our community. Vale Jill Heal. It is with great sadness again that we acknowledge the passing of Jill Heal, a much-loved storyteller, theatre maker, historian and treasured member of our Bass Coast community. Jill loved people, listening to them, learning from them and ensuring their stories were never lost. Born in Swan Hill, Jill's early career as a PE teacher and even representing Australia in basketball spoke to her energy, warmth and natural ability to bring people together. But it was through storytelling that she truly left her mark. Jill fell in love with the Lock community and in doing so became one of its great champions. She believed that understanding local history and the lives of those around us could strengthen connection and belonging, and she dedicated herself to this purpose. Many will know Jill through her extraordinary work with the Wonthaggi Theatre Group, particularly authoring the 50-year anecdotal history We Can Do That. Through interviews with more than 50 members, Jill carefully and respectfully captured personal memories, weaving them into a rich and entertaining narrative of community spirit. Her passion for bringing stories to life extended far beyond the page. Jill was the creative force behind many local productions and historical reenactments, from Lock Primary School children walking the streets in period costume to the memorable end-of-war commemorations filled with music, theatre and shared reflection. Jill also shared her talents with us here at Bass Coast Shire Council, contributing to our Creatively Connecting Community program, work that reflected her deep belief in the power of the arts, culture and storytelling to strengthen communities. Through her writing for the Bass Coast Post, she continued to honour local people, documenting lives, contributions and histories that may otherwise have remained untold. On behalf of Council, we extend our deepest condolences to Jill's family, friends and all who have had the privilege of knowing her. Thank you, Jill, for the stories, the laughter, the history and the heart you gave so freely. You will be long remembered. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to take that time to acknowledge those really important community members. We'll now move to item 5, which is public question time. And we do have a few, so bear with us on this as well. The first one is from Johnny Cantone. The topic is budget. Is Council prepared to concede that retaining tens of millions of dollars while failing to deliver approved infrastructure constitutes administrative failure rather than prudent financial management? Mr Box.
Through the Mayor. No, this does not constitute administrative failure. Surplus cash held and subsequently invested is often a result of funds received ahead of the specific contractual or legislative purposes it is tied to. For example, developer contributions and public open space contributions typically provide funds in advance of the obligations they are intended to deliver. This is one element of prudent financial management.
Thank you. Question 2, Joe Warrilow. Topic is Thompson Avenue cows. It has been reported in newspapers and social media of progress details of works in Lower Thompson Avenue cows. At times, a council officer is reported. Council is supporting all businesses while works are underway. How is Council supporting all businesses?
Through the Mayor. Council officers have been working with the impacted business traders throughout the design and construction of the Cows Foreshore Precinct project. This includes direct engagement with traders to accommodate specific business needs, delivery of trading through transformation campaign and outdoor trading permit fees have been waived for impacted traders for the 2025-26 financial year.
Question 3, Graham Jolly. Topic Hilton Chadwick Reserve. The Hilton Chadwick Reserve and the Carnival Land is planned to have a new safety traffic turning lane. Please provide the Victorian Transport Authority approved permit design plan for the new turning lane. On a number of occasions, the CEO reported council was waiting approval.
Through the Mayor, the Department of Transport and Planning has provided additional feedback on draft designs. Council is addressing the feedback and will resubmit plans to the Department of Transport and Planning for review and endorsement.
Next question. There have been some questions about councillor expenses this month, and I'll refer to the CEO for a further response to those questions. Thank you, Mr Box.
Through the Mayor, Council must ensure that councillors are appropriately supported to carry out their roles on behalf of the community. Councillors are not paid a salary, but receive a nominal allowance to undertake their duties. Expense provisions exist to support councillors to perform their role. These include travel expenses, communication expenses, professional development and community representation, and are facilitated in accordance with the Local Government Act and overseen by Council's Audit and Risk Committee. The roles of Mayor and Deputy Mayor often incur higher travel expenses, including airfares, due to the undertaking of advocacy on behalf of Council. The Councillor Support and Resource Policy details what expenses can be claimed by councillors.
Thank you, Mr Box. Question 4, Bill Wilson. Topic, business permit. When police raid for illegal tobacco and vapes and arrest a business owner in the Bass Coast Shire, will Council cancel the business operating permit to that business after the court rules guilty?
Through the Mayor, if a court finds a business owner guilty of illegal tobacco or vaping offences, Council will review the outcome under its regulatory powers. Any decision to suspend or cancel a business permit would be on a case-by-case basis.
Question 5, Kate Jeanette. Topic, Phillip Island funding. It appears that recent major projects, such as the streetscape and boat ramp upgrades, do not go ahead unless funding is sourced outside of the council. With this in mind, please explain what the council is doing to secure grants or external funds for a swimming pool to be constructed in the next 5 years. Question 2, if the council is unable to secure funding from the state or federal government, will it utilise cash reserves to fund and commence construction of swimming facilities on Phillip Island in the next 5 years?
Through the Mayor, the proposed timing of Council's delivery of aquatic facilities is detailed in the Bass Coast Aquatic Strategy 2015, which is amended, and Concept Master Plan. This is tabled for Council decision within this meeting's agenda.
Question 6, John Kuzma. Topic, Wonthaggi Secondary College. Council's project, Wonthaggi Secondary College Senior Campus Structure Plan, with grant funding of $350,000, is being inspected by a council consultant. Please provide details so far of the inspection to a building council does not own.
Through the Mayor, in 2025-26 budget, Council allocated $350,000 to the old Wonthaggi Secondary College site redevelopment. Council is also conducting a review of the Wonthaggi structure plan. Council officers will reach out to the questioner to clarify the question further.
Question 7, John Kuzma. Topic, Stewart Road Bridge. Council must urgently replace the Stewart Road Bridge. It has been shown a federal grant is to aid in the cost. Has Council actually received into its bank as of 18th of February 2026 the federal grant money?
Through the Mayor, grant funding has not been received to date. However, Council has received advice from the federal government that its application for grant funding has been successful in the amount of $1.768 million. The grant agreement has been received, signed and returned to the funding body.
Question 8, Terry Parkin. Topic, Olive Justice Place. A new toilet block for Olive Justice Place in Cowes project was moved into an early stage phase as part of the Cowes streetscape upgrade. Has Council funding a design plan and location for the community to be informed of?
Through the Mayor, Stage 2 designs for the Cowes Streetscape Master Plan, which includes Olive Justice Place toilet block, have not commenced. There is no funding allocation in the long-term financial plan to attribute to this work.
Question 9, Ernie Westergaard. Topic Wonthaggi Pool. Would Council please inform the received funding arrangements from the state and federal governments towards the new Wonthaggi Pool as of the 18th of February 2026?
Through the Mayor, there is currently no funding secured for the Bass Coast Aquatic and Leisure Centre. Adoption of the amended 2015 Bass Coast Aquatic Strategy will allow Council to advocate to the state and federal government for funding to prioritise the Bass Coast Aquatic and Leisure Centre.
All right, we're almost there, Mr Box. Question 10, Graham Jolly. Topic Aquatic Strategy. Council is updating its very old 2015 Aquatic Strategy to year 2026. Why is Council presenting to councillors and the public statistical information for years 2003, 2013 and the 2011 census federal data, which is years out of date to present day figures?
Through the Mayor, amendments made to the 2015 Aquatic Strategy relate to the sequence of delivery of the facilities. Data was not reviewed as part of the amendment to the strategy, but recent data does form part of the feasibility studies for each centre.
Question 11, Leanne Panozzo. Why were $30 million in public funds placed into term deposits instead of being used for long promised infrastructure such as a swimming pool?
Through the Mayor, cash surpluses held and subsequently invested are often a result of funds received in advance of specific contractual or legislative obligations with which the funds are tied to. Council's community vision, council plan and strategic objectives are all developed in consultation with the community, with the long-term financial plan being a financially sustainable projection regarding how the actions of the council plan may be funded to achieve the community vision.
Question 12, Leanne Panozzo. Topic Consultation. What practical steps will Council take to actively mobilise ratepayers to participate in decision-making rather than using low engagement as justification for delayed delivery?
Through the Mayor, Council regularly engages its community to inform decision-making, including in-person sessions and online engagement tools. Community members are encouraged to subscribe to Engage Bass Coast to receive direct notification of all consultation opportunities.
Question 13, Melinda Mariotti. Topic Cows Swimming Pool. Two parts to the question, Mr Box. Why is the swimming pool for cows projected to be 20 to 25 years away despite available funds? And part two, how is the current draft budget of $58 million being allocated across projects and why wasn't the swimming pool included?
Through the Mayor, the proposed timing of Council's delivery of aquatics facilities is detailed in the Bass Coast Aquatic Strategy 2015 amended and concept master plan, which is tabled for Council decision within this meeting's agenda. The 2025-26 adopted budget contains a capital program of $31.5 million aligned to projects right across the long-term financial plan.
And that is the end of our public question time. Thank you to those who put in their questions. And we will move to item 6 on the agenda, notices of motion, of which I have none. So we'll quickly bypass that and head to item 7, which is petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence. 7.1 is the public open space drainage and connectivity considerations at 158 Reed Crescent, Wonthaggi. I'd like to invite the head petitioner, Chris Catterall, to the microphone, please. And Chris, you get to speak to the petition and you've got 3 minutes. So
thank you very much.
Away you go.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rochelle Halstead, fellow councillors and council officers. Today I'm pleased to present the petition for a new reserve in Broome Crescent, Wonthaggi. The petition was overwhelmingly supported by locals in Wonthaggi as well as more broadly across the Shire. We recorded 531 petition entries and 453 signatures. A bit of background, the idea of a pedestrian cycle link to Wonthaggi Rifle Range Reserve has been talked about for 15, 20 years and probably since the reserve came into being in 2005. In 2020, 15 local residents met council officers from Recreation and Transport to flesh out ideas for the Rifle Range link. Following that, former Mayor Neil Rankin assisted in getting the link on the Tracks and Trails list, but it failed to progress. In 2024, we had a meeting with Recreation and Transport, again on site, and were advised that the request was being revisited and it might progress if certain funding was made available. I attended the September 2025 council meeting when the planning approval for the housing development known as 158 Reed Crescent was approved, with the requirement for the 5% public open space levy, and we would really like this 5% levy to kickstart the creation of a new reserve in unused Broome Crescent Road Reserve adjacent to the new 8 housing blocks. Early October 2025, I attended a meeting with Bunurong Ward councillors, Manager Recreation Transport and Near Neighbour of Mine to discuss improvements to the public safety and connections to our reserves. This following the tragic pedestrian fatality in March 2025 at Campbell Street, Wonthaggi, only 3 streets from Broome Crescent. I presented a draft petition at this time, and it appeared to be enthusiastically embraced. The petition became an active document the following week and ran for 3 months. The purpose of the new reserve is to provide locals and visitors with all abilities access and a picturesque circuit walk through the northern part of the Rifle Range Reserve. It also welcomes visitors to the Yallock Bullock Marine and Coastal Park as it's Wonthaggi's closest access point. All of this whilst improving public safety by avoiding the current access, which is Reed Crescent, as it has no footpaths and deep drains either side. The new reserve would contribute to Council's vision to have 40% canopy cover in urban areas. Sorry. Oh, sorry. It would contribute to the Council's vision to have 40% canopy cover in urban areas and help offset green space loss due to the new Maid Road and adjacent housing development. The proposal includes improved drainage to provide flood mitigation and pre-treatment of hard surface runoff prior to it reaching the Rifle Range wetlands. The new reserve fits the vision and guiding principles of the Bass Coast Integrated Transport Strategy 2025-45, being safety, climate-friendly communities, healthy and inclusive communities, growing economy, all abilities, access and integration. For example, the corner of Brown Street and Broome Crescent has a public transport bus stop facilitating visitors from around the town, plus the reserve could easily provide a completely off-street cycle connection via Campbell Street Bush to the rail trail at South Dudley and on to Kilcunda. If Council decided to create a working group for this project, community members would like to be represented. Overall, the community supports the proposed new reserve enthusiastically, and thank you for your time.
You did really well.
So well done.
40 seconds over. So well done, Mr. Cattrall. Thank you. Please take a seat. All right, councillors, we have the petition before us. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move an amendment to point 1.
Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Temby. Thank you. And back to you, Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This is a really simple, more so procedural amendment, just to move the reporting date forward from the reporting back before the June council meeting to the April meeting, just to ensure that this doesn't get left in a drawer.
All right.
And I support that.
Okay, so we'll go, I have a mover, a seconder. Is there any other councillor that wishes to speak? Will we put that to the vote? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you again, Mr. Cattrall. You did really well. Alrighty.
Receive it.
Do we have another one?
To receive the actual motion.
Ah, yes.
We need to receive the petition. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we did, didn't we?
No, that was the amendment.
Yeah, the amendment.
Jade, did we need to receive the petition? Didn't we receive it as part of the amendment?
No.
Yeah, so it's good.
Is it?
It's all good. Thank you, Councillor Bowler. Our governance lady is all over it. 7.2, Cows Foreshore Market. I have the head petitioner. Hi, Fiona. Have a seat. So you've got 3 minutes as well.
Yep, I'm good.
Away you go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mayor. Hello, councillors and council officers. My name is Fiona Blanford. I'm a small business owner of Suvi Teas, a local original t-shirt business on Phillip Island. So we focus on beaches and wild native animals. So today I'm presenting a petition. It has 2,119 signatures. And this is I'm representing market traders, locals and visitors to the foreshore market in Cowes by coming here today. These signatures were collected over 4 dates over the summer markets in January, 3 of those dates that were very quiet. The market typically gathers on the foreshore in Cowes on Saturday nights during Christmas holidays and long weekends. This year, due to the stage 1 works down renovations that we've heard about today that were completed before Christmas, the market was moved twice in that time, once to the Oval and then 4 times to the Carnival site on the corner of Thompson Road and Cowes Will Road until the end of January. This carnival site was unsafe due to uneven ground from truck tyres. It's a paddock, it's dusty, it was hot, we couldn't control that. But also we had no running water except for a very long hose from the carnival, which was in use by a van. We request a safer site next year. This was a major disruption to small businesses. We saw a 50% loss to some of these businesses from this site. Now, during these hard economic times, traders felt distressed that their livelihoods and employment were at risk, and also felt a bit affected by these council decisions. Normally, visitors to the foreshore market would come and go 3 or 4 times in a day to this market. They would go for a swim, they'd get a coffee, they'd go for pizza, they'd come back, they'd do this kind of thing. So we would see visitors 3 or 4 times a day coming to the market. This year, we saw visitors come once to the first market at the carnival site and never came back. So it was very dead by the end of January. I'm sure councils have all been to the foreshore market. We know it's a big community event. It's a real draw card for locals. It's like a destination market in Victoria, similar to Puff and Billy and similar to Rose Street markets in Fitzroy. People really plan their holidays around this market. We're all getting people contacting us all year round, get the dates to plan their holidays. We estimate, and I think this is an underestimate actually, that the market brings $10 million to the island a year. That's probably half island, from what is raised income through the markets, but also associated costs. This petition requests that the foreshore market return to the Esplanade, especially for the big summer markets on Saturday nights next season during the busiest holiday period, when visitors and locals expect it to be there, preferably with a road closure along the Esplanade to improve access and safety for the community. Noting that the council already has current plans for a review this year, we ask for clarity and that traders be involved in any community consultation. We also ask for community development, not just community engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. You did a little bit better than Mr. Cattrall. You did 10 seconds over. All right, councillors, you have a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bauer. Is there any other councillor who wishes to speak? Will we put that to the vote, Councillor Bell? All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Yeah, saw that hand go up. All right, item 8, reports requiring council decision, 2025 to 2026 quarter 2 performance report. Mr. Dillon, to introduce, please.
Thank you, and through the Mayor, this report presents Council's performance for the quarter ending 31st of December 2025. It includes its performance against the Annual Action Plan 2025-2026, financial performance against its 2025-2026 budget, and capital works project delivery. Of our 27 actions in the 2025-2026 Annual Action Plan, 5 are complete, 20 are on track, and 2 are slightly delayed but expected to recover by the end of Q3. Financially, our forecast full-year operational surplus of $2 million is $3.5 million favourable to the budgeted deficit of $1.5 million. This is largely due to a $7 million in unbudgeted capital grants. The recommendation is the Council receives the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Tassari, and a seconder. Councillor Thompson. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a good piece of work and well done to everyone involved. It's heartwarming, I guess, to hear that by later on in the year, the 20 that are still going will be complete, on top of the 5 that are already complete. So good work by everyone. Keep tightening the belt, keep pumping out the projects, and results speak for themselves. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Thompson, you wish to
Yes,
speak?
I would also like to thank our officers and our manager during a tight time and trying to control all our budgets and costs. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Do any of the other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Temby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My comments are well done to the entire team who've contributed to the report, and it's important that we continue to monitor the controls for all our higher risks. And it's great to see good progress on so many projects across the Shire. Shire's higher risks should also clearly include climate change risks, including sea level rise causing coastal erosion and inundation. We're spending funds on erosion work that is at best only a short-term stopgap to appease those under immediate and gut-wrenching threat. We cannot hold back rising seas. We cannot successfully put barriers between us and the rising sea when those barriers are sitting on sand. Our planning and emergency response legislation must be updated to reflect the reality of the unpalatable climate change projections and the resultant impacts that we're all beginning to see within this Shire.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the report? Councillor Tassari, would you like to?
Happy to put it to a vote, Madam Mayor.
All right, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I can see your hand. It's not easy when you're online, but 8.2, Planning Application 2023-000-115-1-2140. I don't know why I read that number out. Currumbara Wonthaggi Road, Lance Creek. Ms Taylor to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider an amendment to a planning permit issued in 2023 for the use of the land as an abattoir at 2140 Currumbara Wonthaggi Road, Lance Creek. The amendment proposes an increase in operational hours, an increase in processing capacity, extensions to buildings and vegetation removal to facilitate safe access to the site. The application is before Council as it was called in by a councillor. 3 objections have also been received. It is recommended that a notice of decision to issue an amended planning permit be issued. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover, Councillor Thompson, and a seconder, Councillor Temby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to move this amendment. I did have some concerns regarding the operation of the abattoir. I met with one objector of this planning application along with Councillor Temby and our Mayor, and listened to their concerns regarding odour, noise, traffic, waste disposal and other issues they raised. Councillor Temby, council officers and I met with representatives of Kilcoy last Monday. I expressed my concerns regarding the complaints and I believe a complaints register is now operational. Some of the neighbours' concerns have been listened to and I'm very pleased that Kilcoy management have recently purchased 400 acres adjacent to their property and are installing an additional wastewater plant. This should alleviate the odour and waste runoff concerns. I was also impressed that Kilcoy management had applied and successfully had the speed limit on the adjacent road reduced from 100 to 80 kilometres. I wouldn't mind their person who did that on board. Further community involvement by Kilcoy with land care projects along the Powlett River have been implemented and delivered. This expansion will produce more employment opportunities and insert many dollars into our community. I am pleased to endorse this application, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's great to have a major employer in our district who wants to expand their business and who value adds prior to export. It's important that Kilcoy are a good corporate citizen and positive contributor to the broader community, the environment and local amenity. They can do this in part by minimising noise, light and odour emissions, excessive wastewater irrigation, especially in areas designated as land subject to inundation, etc. and ensuring that they are fully compliant with all council, EPA and CMA expectations at all times. Their plans, including for improved water treatment works and a significantly expanded area for irrigation, are very positive. However, their implementation needs to be realised and maintained. Some of these expectations have been subject to legitimate community concern. To help achieve and maintain a positive reputation within the Shire, these matters must be sustainably managed. In addition, extensive planting of locally native vegetation will reduce noise, odour and light emissions and will help to create nutrient traps, reduce the likelihood of off-site nutrient impact, improve local biodiversity and create privacy. Subject to full compliance with the criteria that this council controls, this development proposal should proceed, but to meet broader community expectations, we should expect Kilcoy and all its contractors to address complaints and look after the interests of their local community and road users to a higher level than anecdotal evidence suggests has occurred in the recent past.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Is there any other councillor that wishes to speak to this recommendation? Councillor O'Brien?
If I may, Madam Mayor, and it's a question for Ms. Taylor. I'm wondering, aside from the land care projects undertaken, are there new projects on foot with this application? New land care projects underway?
Through the Mayor, that question will need to be taken on notice and we can seek some advice from the operator. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Thompson, do you wish to...
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I wish to proceed with the motion.
Put to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.3 on the agenda is 1805 Phillip Island Road, Cows. Ms Taylor, again to introduce, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider a planning application for buildings and works in the bushfire management overlay at 1805 Phillip Island Road in Cows. The buildings and works will facilitate an additional 23 cabins at Park Lane Tourist Park. The application was notified to surrounding landowners and 18 objections have been received. Officers have assessed the report and it's recommended that a notice of decision to grant a planning permit issue. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bauer, seconder, Councillor Bell. Councillor Bauer, you wish to introduce?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. Oh boy, this has been a tough one. This has been a very hard application to consider. I, along with the others, went on a site visit to assess the amount of trees that will need to be removed to fulfil this application. A hollow tree is as valuable to our environment as a living tree, as it gives home and an ecosystem to various flora and fauna. People may remember how I valiantly fought to keep the 3 mature gum trees at the Anderson Street boat ramp. I get it, but we have to put the tree issue to one side and look at the forest, not just the trees. We have to look at this project overall. Let's look at the positives that this project offers. 5 of the cabins are being built to cater for people with disabilities to enjoy our island. It will bring employment through the building of cabins between 7 and 9 permanent positions into the running of the park. The project is also endorsed by our local state member and destination Phillip Island. The other factor that has to be considered is the economic one, which is estimated to bring a 2+-fold economic return to the island. I was impressed by the attitude of the owners to this project and their commitment to our island. The owners of this application were able to secure funding through the state government. It is my understanding that the clock is ticking on this and the grant could lapse shortly. Entrepreneurs like this need to be encouraged to invest in our Shire. So it's the old story. You can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. I therefore agree to the report and recommend the report to the Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell?
Thank you,
I just
Mayor.
wanted to, sorry, Councillor Bell, just wanted to pick up Councillor Bauer in relation to the trees and I guess reaching out to councillors in the chamber, remembering that the trees are not part of this planning application. I know how passionate we all feel about the trees and we do everything we can to protect them. but they are actually under the bush management overlay, able to be exempt from this application. So I just wanted to flag that. And I know we all feel very strongly about the trees. So anyway, I'll go to you, Councillor Bell. Has that just taken the wind out of your sails, Councillor Bell? I'm sorry.
There is high community sensitivity to the removal of trees in the Shire, especially on Phillip Island. So I acknowledge that they're not part of the application, but there just seems to be no strategic alignment between our climate change action plan, our urban forest strategy, our protected tree laws, the state government's own laws to protect canopy trees, and then this application with the state government's requirement to remove trees for fire safety. So I feel like that does need to be highlighted, this absolute contradiction in the state government's own laws, and our planning hands are tied because of that. Our Shire's been a leader in local government in declaring a climate emergency, and we've been really progressive in other climate actions, including that urban forest strategy. And so approving an application that facilitates the removal of 44 trees just seems to be in direct opposition to our strategic direction. But, you know, we do have these fire safety regulations. It does say it allows for the removal of trees up to 10 metres, doesn't say they must. So I would be calling on the applicant to work with us and have a good conscience and try really hard to save as many of the trees as you can. I also appreciate with Councillor Bauer that the cabins are a good design, they're DDA compliant, and this development is filling a tourism need for family accommodation that's close to a couple of Phillip Island's really big attractions. So as Councillor Bauer said, it's a really tricky one. That'll do.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Mayor. I'll fully endorse those comments by Councillor Bell there. As you said, Madam Mayor, the Council's not left with any legal grounds to refuse this application, even if we wanted. The bushfire management overlay sits firmly with the state government. I'm sure it's no surprise to anybody that I disagree generally with the way that the state government has implemented this policy with a blanket approach. It completely undermines our strategic and environmental objectives rather than relying on local expertise. But that's where we're at, and it's our job to deal with the application in front of us. Similarly, I'm concerned about vegetation that I believe could potentially be protected under the EPBC Act. But once again, that is out of our local government jurisdiction. I'll finish by thanking the applicants for engaging in good faith with the council, and I wish them all the best. They're not the enemy here.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Temby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I support the comments that have already been made. There's a couple of other bits and pieces, a bit of detail that I'd like to provide behind some of those comments. I support the development of good accommodation on and around Phillip Island, and this proposal appears to meet the limited scope of our council's planning requirements. However, I'm upset by the potential loss of valuable habitat trees as a component of the proposed upgrade. Our state planning laws need to be updated. Our CFA assessments should be more nuanced by the plant species involved, and Park Lane should be encouraged to seek options to their plans to maximise the protection of the existing tree canopy and aligning buildings and building design to maximise passive solar benefits. Park Lane incorrectly described their site as being generally devoid of vegetation, despite requesting the destruction of 44 mature trees, which adjoin the sanctuary and so are even more important in support of Phillip Island's remnant-rich biodiversity.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
What's your point of order?
We're discussing trees which are not in the motion. Relevant? Yes, sorry. Thank you.
If I could just ask in future if you have the actual point of order, the number of the point of order, but I'll uphold your point of order. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. You could bring it back to the report. Thank you, Councillor Temby.
Okay. I'll reflect Councillor Morgan's comment about EPBC Act, and we have early evidence that there could well be specimens on site that should be reported under that Act. I appeal to Park Lane to either modify their plans to be more environmentally friendly and welcoming, or to consider expanding onto land that's already environmentally degraded. In this time of increasingly serious climate change impacts, we also need to advocate for far more environmentally friendly planning and bushfire management overlay laws, and our tourism stats should further improve as a result.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any other councillors wish to contribute? Councillor O'Brien.
If I may, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, this is one where I guess the best description of my position is sitting on the fence, but unfortunately I can't give half a vote. So, I think that there is a sincerity of intent, by the proponent here, and I would hope that the proponent will engage. So this is just a comment, really. Will engage with council in future months as this development proceeds, because the Koala Park just nearby, there's very specific vegetation, which would arguably is contiguous, with this small site here, and I think that if we're able to do that, to engage with the proponent, I think we will get a good outcome here. And the last comment that I'd make, which is kind of a comment around the trees, is that it's actually not visible from the road, the changes that will occur. So much of the commentary that came into me from people who were troubled about this was that we'll just have a great big hole sitting up there. That isn't the case if they were to walk around the site. So yes, I approve of this, and I look forward and encourage the proponent to work with council around the kind of outcome that we get here that addresses some of these matters that we're raising.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any further comments, councillors? I'll go back to Councillor Bauer. Would you like to address anything in the sum up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, but I don't think anybody spoke against the motion, so we'll just put it
to the vote. Yes. All those in favour of the recommendation? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.4 on the agenda, the Esplanade Sunderland Bay to Zephyr Court. Ms Taylor to introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present a preferred concept option and funding mechanism for a road and drainage upgrade project along the Esplanade between Sunderland Bay Road and Zephyr Court in Sunderland Bay. It's recommended that in accordance with the proposed declaration of special charge, Council give public and other statutory notice of its intention to declare a special charge scheme for the upgrade of the road. The recommendation, if adopted by Council, signifies the start of the special charge scheme process in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act and provides Council with the opportunity to formally ascertain the level of support for the proposal. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bell, a seconder. Councillor Morgan, you wish to speak, Councillor Bell?
I don't know if there's that much to say. That's what the community wants. That's what the community gets.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Morgan?
Here's to democracy.
All righty. Any councillors wish to speak to the recommendation? All righty. To the vote then, Councillor Bell. All those in favour? Thank you, Meg. That's carried. 8.5. Bass Coast Aquatic Strategy 2015 and Concept Master Plan. Ms Taylor, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide an overview of the consultation undertaken for the Bass Coast Aquatic Strategy and the Bass Coast Aquatic and Leisure Centre Redevelopment Concept Plan. The report highlights support from the Bass Coast community and key stakeholders to amend the 2015 Aquatic Strategy from a concurrent two-pool delivery model to a sequenced delivery model that prioritises Bass Coast Aquatic and Leisure Centre for delivery first. It is recommended that Council adopt the amended strategy and continue to investigate feasibility of a redevelopment of our existing facility in Wonthaggi. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tassari, Councillor Morgan. You wish to speak, Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Being one that's spent numerous times in front of ministers, whether it be in Canberra or in Spring Street, and trying to advocate for 2 swimming pools at the cost of around $90 to $100 million, was never going to happen. And to see this now be amended and put in place gives us the opportunity to not only get the funding for the Bass Coast Aquatic Centre, but also gives us a better opportunity to get to the Phillip Island funding for the pool as well. So I think I've mentioned one other time about this one. To continue doing the same thing and failing is a sign of lunacy. So to adjust this and to be more clearer when we go to knocking on these doors with this advocacy in place makes much more sense. And I'm actually confident that we'll get the funding for the 2 pools because this by no means ends the Phillip Island pool, but it gives us a clear path on which way we're going to go, and I feel we'll get the funding quicker for both pools under this advocacy. So I'm happy to endorse, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Mayor. Councillor Tassari's laid out the facts quite well there, so I guess I'll use some artistic license and use a farming analogy. You know when you're trying to get cattle through a race and they get stuck because 2 of them are trying to go through the gate at the same time? Well, the solution's pretty simple. It's one at a time. The 2-pool strategy was bad policy, and it was even worse politics. I can only imagine mayors and council staff over the years being laughed out of Spring Street. The Phillip Island pool wasn't going to be built under the previous strategy. No pool was. This new strategy rightly prioritises ensuring that Bass Coast isn't left without a single pool in the Shire at all. Wonthaggi pool needs funding, and there's a wonderful spot in Cows Rec Reserve in the plan ready for a pool in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? I thought you might, Councillor Bauer. Over to you.
I think you were expecting this ad. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers who are watching this meeting, there is nobody around this table who's more concerned and aware about the aquatic situation. I have vigorously advocated to keep the Phillip Island Aquatic Centre in our advocacy. However, I'm also a realist. If we lose the Wonthaggi pool, we have no swimming facilities for the entire Shire, and that is totally unacceptable. So, with a very heavy heart, I'm actually going to vote for this motion. But if the manna falls from heaven and the entire Phillip Island Recreation Reserve is promised in either a state or federal election, we islanders expect council to honour that commitment and build the Phillip Island Aquatic Centre, even if that is before the Wonthaggi renovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Any other councillor wish to add? Councillor O'Brien?
Look, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I need to underscore what Councillor Bauer and Councillor Tassari have said, that because it's been misinterpreted before, the 2-pool strategy remains, but we line them up head to tail, and that's as Councillor Tassari has commented, Councillor Morgan has commented, Councillor Bauer has commented. That's a sensible way of going about this. And I think we're here to make sensible decisions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any other councillors? Councillor Tassari, happy to
put it to a vote, Madam Mayor.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8.6 is Surf Parade Inverloch. Ms Taylor to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At its meeting in May 2024, Council resolved to endorse a preferred design option that included one-way vehicle traffic control treatment along Surf Parade between Ozone Street and Garroch Street in Inverloch, the flow of vehicles to be in an east to west direction. The purpose of this report is to commence the statutory process to formally make this section of Surf Parade one-way. Converting this section to one-way will allow construction of Stage 3B of the Surf Parade shared pathway. It is recommended that Council commence the statutory process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Tassari, Councillor Temby as a seconder. Councillor Tassari, if you could introduce, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Inverloch Shared Pathway, Stage 3B, has been going on forever and a day. I get that the community is over it, and to be honest, I'm almost feeling the same. The fact is, what was agreed upon and what was wanted all those years ago cannot happen. We've lost 50 metres of foreshore since those glory days, and that plan was adopted. So here we stand right now, a line in the sand, so to speak. We have three options: pathway with parking, which includes one-way strip for the last remaining part and sending the traffic up the obvious way into town along Toorak Road. Pathway with no parking, or we leave it as is. I've heard all along that the most important part of this project is the pathway. The second part is the parking. Now, I've met with a lot of community members, prominent community members, that agreed that the pathway was number one, the parking was number two. And if the only way to make this happen was a one-way strip, then they would support it. Unfortunately, they have gone quiet since there was a little bit of backlash in the community. But the fact is, they knew that this was the only way that this was going to happen. Now, if this is knocked over today, the money goes back to the state, and any future possible scenarios has to rely on us seeking the funding again for a project that was funded, but we had to return the money. So I say to you, this project has been consulted to within an inch of its life. But right now, to endorse this today and go back to the community, I encourage everyone to have their say, not on what could have been a dozen to 15 years ago, but on what is in front of us right now. Have your say, yes or no. Let's get on with this project and hopefully have this finished before my council terms are finished, because it was going on before I started 10 years ago. So let's get the project done.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I support Councillor Tassari's comments. There's very strong support for a safe pathway to link the shopping centre area to the surf club and having parking along Surf Parade. This project meets those criteria. We should proceed, including having one-way traffic where needed to facilitate the pathway with minimal environmental damage. And we also need to provide sufficient signage to ensure the return trip for cars is clear to all.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Is there any other councillor who wishes to speak? Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. When I door-knocked all of...
Got you, Meg. Sorry, Councillor.
You're right.
Go on, sorry, Councillor Morgan.
When I door-knocked all of Inverloch pre-election, I think the shared path was brought up so regularly that it would sometimes appear in my sleep at night. As Councillor Tassari quite rightly said, this has been going on for too long. I remember this debate starting when I was in year 9 in high school. Yeah, last year, thanks, Councillor. It was always about half of the community wanting one model, half the community wanting other, but almost everyone's in fierce agreement that the path should be built. This isn't my preferred model, so I will be voting against this, but in doing so, I'm appealing to the Inverloch community to engage in this consultation in good faith if it passes. If this debate was just about the model, that would be one thing, but now we have state government funding that is dependent on us getting the process started. So sure, I'm a soft no, but if this passes today, let's engage with the consultation in good faith, bring the temperature down and see where we land.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was heartened in item 8.4 of what Councillor Bell said, that what the community want is what they get. And this has been incredibly clear to me. And as it has been to Brett, as Councillor Tassari, as he just mentioned, this has been going on and consulted within an inch of its life. Absolutely agree with that sentiment. However, the very clear message that I'm getting and have done for many years on this issue is to do it as it was intended to be. The community are now insulted by the fact that we're actually potentially going back out to consult again, and they're asking, when are we going to start to listen? Because their message has been incredibly clear, that hasn't changed, and that is the path with the two-way traffic and leaving the road as it is with the path on the side. Now, I recognise that at the moment that's not a possibility. So as I've brought up internally in the past, that this is after all these years, and it's unfortunate that what I'm about to suggest is what I've done internally is to actually postpone this. And the reason being is that we have an election in about 10 months' time, and we have a coalition government, coalition opposition at the moment, who have committed to permanent protection works at Inverloch, as opposed to I was the only councillor to not endorse retreat as part of the Dal SPP last year. So opposed to that, the coalition have committed to permanent protective works of Inverloch foreshore. If there's a chance of permanent protective works on the Inverloch foreshore as coming off in the medium term, then surely the priority now has to be, let's get the beach right, let's get the erosion right, because that's been given by DECA as the reason why they're not prepared to do the path and the two-way traffic. So if DECA believe that their current temporary works of putting sand on the beach is going to, they're showing lack of confidence in their own current dredging process if they're saying we can no longer have the path and the two-way traffic. So I'd say let's hold off for 12 months. Yes, we potentially lose the funding, but the funding is for something that is now in a way that nobody's happy with. So I'd say, look, unfortunately, that small amount of funding that's been allocated for it many years ago, which is not hugely significant, that we now, instead of spending it and getting this wrong, that we do this right, we wait, we listen to the community and what they've already said, rather than insulting them with going back out again. There's been massive petitions, massive turnouts to meetings over this. They're sick of it. They want us to start listening. Hold off in the hope that there's a change and protective works done to the foreshore first, and give that a chance, and then get this right in the way that it was originally intended. And I hope that I encourage my colleagues to obviously vote with me on that, against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. You had that well timed.
Deliberately.
Is there any other councillor that wishes to add? Councillor Bauer?
A question with that, I'm sorry, to Ms Taylor here. Have we exhausted our submission or consultation with DECA on the vegetation?
Through the Mayor, yes. Removal of the foreshore vegetation, we've been advised, would not receive Marine and Coastal Act consent, nor would the state consent to a planning permit being issued for the vegetation removal. That advice has been consistent since around 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Tassari, did you wish?
I will if I can, Madam Mayor, and I'm going to seek clarification as well without notice. I'm sorry, Ms Taylor. If this is to go through today and we do go down the consultation path, and I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Edwards online there. If we do go down the consultation path, and it is overwhelming, because I'm not as confident as Councillor Edwards that the majority do want this stopped, but I do agree that they want an outcome. Can we still stop this project if this is passed today? And the overwhelming feel from the community is that they don't want the one-way path. Can the project still be ditched?
Through the Mayor, yes.
Thank you, Councillor.
Happy to put it to a vote, Madam Mayor.
All right. All those in favour of the recommendation? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8.7, Inverloch Hub refurbishment. Mr Dillon to introduce, please.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. This report presents the outcome of our tender process for the Stage 2 refurbishment of the Inverloch Hub. One conforming tender was received from TS Constructions Pty Limited, a local contractor who also delivered Stage 1. The panel assessed them as the best value for money, with a total contract sum of $1.155 million, sitting within budget. The recommendation is to award the contract and authorise the CEO to execute it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Do we have a mover? Councillor Morgan. Seconder, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Morgan, you wish to speak?
Very briefly, let me give a quick plug to the Inverloch Community Hub. Get down there and go to the library. Shout out to the Miley Library crew, you're my favourites. Go and do some circle dancing, go to the information centre, go and do some yoga, pickleball. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. But here's to some refurbishments and get down to the community hub.
Good plug, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a much-loved hall, and these works are definitely needed. Anytime you go down there, you can see that it's quite dated in some spots, and this will be fantastic, and the Inverloch community deserve it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Does any other councillor wish to add?
Yep, just a brief one.
Councillor Temby?
I think it's a great project, and all assets need maintenance and refurbishment as required to meet upgraded safety and related expectations and community needs. We should accept the tender and support the implementation of this project ASAP.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any other councillor wish to contribute? All righty, Councillor Morgan, we happy to put to the vote?
We absolutely are.
All those in favour? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. That's carried. Okay, 8.8, councillors. Advocacy priorities 26 to 28. Mr Dillon, thank you.
Thank you, and through the Mayor, this report puts forward Council's Big Five advocacy priorities to guide our engagement with state and federal governments through the upcoming election cycle and budget processes. These priorities are the Aquatic Centre redevelopment in Montague, Western Port Woodlands protection, the Phillip Island Sporting Precinct, transforming the former Montague Secondary College site, and coastal protection. An immediate priority is also identified in relation to securing the MotoGP on Phillip Island beyond 2026. The recommendation is to endorse the priorities and approve two motions for submission to the Australian Local Government 2026 National General Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tassari, seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Temby. Wish to speak, Councillor Tassari?
Just to say that this is great work, Madam Mayor, and it's whenever we go into the office or we knock on the doors with this with a document like this, it just puts us so far ahead of the rest, and our advocacy department do amazing work. You sit there in front of ministers and department heads, and you have so much confidence that what you're pushing for is being heard because of our department, but because of projects like this. So happy to endorse.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The key advocacy topics are very important, appropriate and have great merit. However, $108 million for the Cows Sporting Precinct and the Sports and Aquatic Centre and only $500,000 for the environment is way out of proportion. Sporting facilities are important. Environmental protection and enhancement is a growing investment in very long-term intergenerational assets. They help to create climate change mitigation, livability and ecotourism, as well as improve recreation, mental health, community amenity and biodiversity in perpetuity. As stated in the advocacy document, the Western Port Woodlands are the only intact remnant of coastal woodlands left in Victoria and therefore are the only bit left in the world. There is significant and consistent community support for a higher priority to be placed on environmental protection and enhancement. We should recognise this when we seek and allocate funding. I support the topics, but will continue to advocate for more balanced advocacy and distribution of our limited funds.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Any other councillor wish to add? Councillor Bauer, and then to you, Councillor Thompson.
Question to Mr Dillon. The order of the advocacy items are not in a particular order of priority.
No, they all have equal priority.
Thank you. Yeah. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. The list provided in this motion is quite extensive, and with the exception of the MotoGP, are issues that we've been dealing as long as I've been on council for 5 years. There's no doubt the most important item on this list is retaining the MotoGP for Phillip Island. This will be decided one way or the other this year. The other issues highlighting the everlasting economic tug-of-war between council and government. Our outgoing member for Bass, George Cugnell, was a member of the Bass Coast Shire, and it's quite possible that the incoming member for Bass is also a mayor. Both understand the frustrations of advocating for our shire. I support this motion, and let's hope it bears fruit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say if there's any chance of any of our big five getting through this year, this is the year, and I'm really pleased we have the Mayor and Deputy Mayor advocating on our behalf. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else wish to contribute? Councillor Tassari, did you wish to?
No, happy to put it to a
the
vote. Madam Mayor, yep.
All of those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, councillors. Alrighty, 8.9, rating strategy review. Mr. Dillon to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. This report brings forward the outcomes of our rating strategy review and community consultation, which is the first comprehensive review since 2016. Following community engagement, the recommendation is to reduce the farmland differential from 80% to 70%, increase the vacant land differential from 150% to 200%, reform the rural land management rebate programme to focus on measurable environmental outcomes, and introduce a 20% waste charge rebate for eligible pensioners, all to take effect from the 1st of July 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Do I have a...
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Thompson, you had the floor.
I would like to move an alternative
Councillor Thompson, you may now state the motion without speaking to it.
I will. It's number 2A, farmland, reducing the rating differential from 80% down to 65%. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor O'Brien.
65.
Ms Glenn, now we vote to accept the alternate.
Now we invite Jan to speak to the motion.
Okay, we'll invite Jan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry.
Farmers are still doing it tough. We all know they went through a tough time last year, but it's not getting any better. They don't earn a regular salary like most of us do. They rely on sales of their products, such as stock and crops. This morning I drove down Agora Road in Coronet Bay and looked at the land. It was yellow. The dam was a bog and the cattle were trying to graze on ribbons of yellow straw and dirt. I wondered about the stress that farm was experiencing. Currently, many farmers are only able to get one hay cut off their land where they usually get two. And even if they do get a second cut, it has little nourishment, further exacerbating a difficult situation. Feed has gone up, fertilisers for crops have gone up, hard feed for stock has gone up, and increased input costs, while stock and crop prices have gone down. They are in a no-win situation. We are currently in a La Nino weather pattern, which means rain and wind, and New South Wales and Queensland are certainly getting their share. However, in Victoria, we're having an unusual warmer conditions with less rain. What follows this is then the El Nino, which is heat, dry winds and no rain. The last El Nino was 2023, where we had the second hottest year on record. Professor Andrew Watkins from the Monash University School of Earth, Atmosphere and Environment has said recently these cyclical events will not only be intensified by climate change, but the very unusually warm La Nino. We will know by autumn if we're going into an El Nino, which will spell further disaster for farmers. By moving from the rates differential to 65%, a majority of residents, including pensioners and low-income residents, will be better off as the offset will be attributed to the holders of vacant land. I volunteer at the Coronella Community and District Community Centre on Mondays. I have coffee with a councillor, and on Monday I was discussing with some of our residents about the rates and the plight of farmers and how I was moving this alternative. I asked, would you support the farmers in a reduction? Not one person said no. Farming is no easy feat. It requires unwavering dedication and relentless hard work, from the early mornings at dawn tending the livestock and crops to the late nights fixing machinery or planning the next season. They face unpredictable weather, market fluctuations and the constant need to adapt and innovate. They have a passion for the land and their commitment to feeding their communities. We're in a peri-urban area where the house creep is continuing into Bass. That means for farmers, higher land values, higher rates and currently lower income. Farmers can deduct some of their land off their tax return, but this has always been the norm and it's already budgeted and it doesn't help them with their current cash flow. Farmers have the highest rates of suicide and financial stress is one of the major indicators of this action. At night, a farmer will warily put his head down on a pillow and go off to sleep. But wait, What's that noise? It's the fire siren. So guess who gets out of bed to fight fires, save our trees, save our land and save our houses? Of course, our CFA farmers. Farmers are due to pay the fire levy this year, around $1,000 plus extra on their rates. Although this is a state levy, we still must collect it, and it's another cost they must absorb. I implore my fellow councillors, please give our food producers a break. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor O'Brien, do you wish to add?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So it is an alternative, it's not an amendment, isn't it? Yes, an alternative. Yeah, so in supporting this alternative, and it is in fact just a small revision, we are recognising at the heart of it the importance of our family farms to the character, community and economy of this wonderful region. It addresses a distortion in our rating strategy, and in these times when our family farms are under intense cost and profitability pressures, not least of which from an overbearing supermarket duopoly and from drought and other vagaries of the climate, this alternative is an equitable way of lightening the load just a little and of signalling to our farmers that we hear them and we're with them. This strategy also addresses, by way of fair disincentive, the matter of land lying vacant within town boundaries and across the region that in a housing crisis would be better used for housing. This change will have negligible impact on other ratepayers and in fact delivers a small positive outcome for them. So I commend adoption of the alternative as proposed by Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. 65% rates differential for farmers isn't robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's more along the lines of Robin Hood. By increasing the vacant land rate to 200%, we're subsidising our farmers and affording a small discount to resident ratepayers too. So don't let it be said that I and my party are anti-farmer. I'm pro-farmer and I'm anti-land banking. With this progressive change to our rating system, we're hitting two birds with one stone. The other side of this debate, though, is the land management rebate. Now, this program has been positive for our environment. Has it been efficient, though? Probably not. The administrative burden has shown that the program has been an ineffective way of providing environmental wins. That being said, every cent of this program should be retained in environmental initiatives. And I would love to move an amendment to this motion to earmark those funds now, but it would be disrespectful to my colleagues and the budget process. So I am, as loudly as I can, putting a bookmark in this debate. And when we get to the budget process, I will be fighting tooth and nail to ensure that Bass Coast uses the money saved from ending the land management rebate on new, better local environmental initiatives. I'd also like to thank everyone who engaged respectfully in the consultation process. It was very impressive.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I will just pick you up on the use of your party in the council chamber.
Fair enough. Happy to withdraw.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors that wish to speak? Councillor Tassari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just quickly like to highlight the fact that, and thank our finance team for listening and making this work. The fact that our first home buyers get a 2-year exemption from the vacant land going up. So I think that's really important. By all means, land banking is one thing, but the first home buyers that are saving desperately to try and get into the market, I think it's important they get a bit of a leg up as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We went through numerous iterations during the lengthy rating review process, and I have to thank the council officers for their work, for the work that they have done in seeking community input. However, I feel that there are numerous groups who didn't have a voice in this process and who often don't have the confidence to speak up at all. There are people in our community who are trying to buy their first asset, have real mortgage stress and who really need our support. To me, a fairer and more equitable process would have been that no one gets a rates discount, but everyone who is struggling financially has access to our existing hardship arrangements for support if they need it. The 70% version of the ratings review is an improvement on some suggestions, but we cannot argue that giving an industry-wide discount to any sector is fair or equitable. And arguing that we deserve a discount because our assets have massively increased in value is illogical. The 70% rates discount uses up almost all the land management rebate funding, and 65% I believe exceeds it. Any attempts to reinstate the rebate on top of that discount should recognise this budgetary constraint. The 70% proposal would appear to be the best option available to us at present, and I will support it, that one, if it comes up, but with clear reservations. Council has hardship arrangements available for those struggling to pay rates. In my view, we should only offer discounts to those individuals who actually need it.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Edwards?
Just get myself off mute. Thank you, Madam Mayor. 65% is in line with our neighbouring shires. And I just want to speak to, I think that I'm clearly in favour of that with Councillor O'Brien's and my work with the Rural Engagement Group. This was discussed at length over a number of meetings, and that's where that we've come to that measure. I would just like to congratulate the previous terms of council in putting in place the rural land rebate as actually walking the talk, and that leadership environmentally of showing leadership for our most significant landholders in Bass, who are the best custodians of our land. They are the generational farmers or people who own farmland, want the best for that land. They want it to be protected and well looked after environmentally for themselves and for their future generations, for it to be productive. And so I wholeheartedly agree that it needs to be environmental practice. It doesn't need to be overly onerous in terms of its implementation. But that rural land rebate, as well as the 65%, is absolutely an amazing flagship project, a program that Bass has, and that we need to retain, even if it's in a different format, that is in the hands of farmers. As the landowners, as the land managers and custodians of that land, they are the best ones to implement those environmental practices on their land. And I would just like to reiterate Councillor Thompson's words of supporting and respecting the role that they play in our community. They are a minority in number, but they have the biggest land use and management that obviously we all love and care for.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I think we've got everyone now, haven't we? Councillor Bauer, did you wish to contribute?
Please, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. This alternate motion has been moved and seconded by councillors with strong farming connections. Nancy, my wife, is a farmer's daughter. Her brother still runs a family farm. So, understandably, I'm very sympathetic to the needs of the farming community. However, I'm not in a position to know enough about the nuances of running a farm. I'm a businessman. I run a jewelry store, not a farm. And as such, I'm not going to make assumptions about the running of a farm. It is clear the needs of the farming community is immediate. The recommendations of the reg and the councillors who are connected to the land is 65%. I will listen to those in the industry. I therefore accept their recommendations and will support this alternate motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The goal here is simple, is to ensure a fair and sustainable rating system that reflects the needs of our whole community. And that means carefully balancing the requests of individual sectors with the realities faced by pensioners, families, and our local businesses. We've heard from the farming community. They may be a smaller sector, but they have been very vocal through the engagement, and we understand the constraints that they face. Farmland zoning limits their ability to develop or diversify. Their income is more volatile than other businesses. Rising production costs are real. And these issues definitely deserve acknowledgement, but they don't automatically justify large concessions at the expense of other ratepayers. I do support a reasonable lower farm differential because it reflects their land use limitations, but it needs to remain proportionate and defensible. I'm happy with the vacant land differential. I think that's a vital tool as it encourages development, it supports housing supply, and it helps to ensure that land is contributing to our community rather than sitting idle. I don't think it's punitive. I think it's purposeful, and especially given the concession to first home buyers who are buying land only at the time that they can afford. I just also wanted to point out that the pensioner waste charge rebate is also part of this motion, and I'm really happy that that's in. Pensioners are on a fixed income and they can't increase their earnings to meet rising costs. and they feel rate changes immediately. And this rebate provides practical targeted support to a group who genuinely experience financial vulnerability. So while farming is an important industry, many residents face significant financial pressures of their own. And they are depending on us to maintain balance and fairness. So we have to serve the whole community, acknowledge the genuine challenges, and protect the most vulnerable and ensure our costs, the costs are shared fairly.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Now I think we've all had a contribution, so I'll go back to Councillor Thompson. Did you wish
I'd
to?
like to move the motion, thank you. The
Okay.
alternative, thank you.
So that's been moved and seconded. You're happy to put to the vote?
Yes, I'll put it to the vote.
All those in favour of the alternative? All those against? That's carried, councillors. Thank you.
That is the motion.
That's just the alternate carried.
Sorry, I didn't.
The alternate becomes the motion now.
Yeah.
You have to vote.
The motion is carried.
That's the alternate.
The alternate's carried.
Alternate's carried.
How long have you been doing this, Councillor Bell?
Item 9, statutory reports. And 9.1 is informal meeting of councillors. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Tassari, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tassari.
Happy to put it to a vote.
Procedural.
I didn't say that.
All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. 9.2, planning and building statistics. Do I have a mover? Councillor Temby. Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby, you wish to speak?
Just a brief comment. Yes, we have the same ongoing problem with lots of tree loss, a continuation of the environmental death by 1,000 cuts, and someone contemplating building in inundation overlay areas would either appear to have a very short-term intention and or has very little scientific or environmental awareness. They need to be aware of the significance of the risk that they will be taking on.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Tassari, do you wish to contribute?
No, I'm happy to just put this to a vote.
Any other councillor have any comments? Councillor Temby, you happy to put to the vote?
Yes, thank you.
All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. 9.3, planning and building statistics. A mover, please. Councillor Morgan, seconder. Councillor Temby. You wish?
I can pass the right to speak, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Temby, you happy?
Same comments as before. Thanks.
Any other councillor wish to speak to 9.3? Put that to the vote, Miss Councillor Morgan.
Please.
All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 9.4, contracts awarded and or extended under CEO delegation for November and December 2025. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Temby, seconder. Councillor Morgan. Councillor Temby, you wish to speak?
No, put it to the vote if...
Yeah, it's
Councillor
procedural.
Morgan.
Who said that?
No councillor wish to add, and we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. 9.5, councillor allowances and expenses for the council term 11 November 2024 to 31st of December 2025. Do we have a mover? Councillor Tassari, seconder Councillor Temby. You wish to speak, Councillor Tassari?
I do, Madam Mayor. I just quickly, I encourage all of the councillors, don't be put off by being questioned at question time by people asking why you're spending this on this and that. We scrutinise that strictly. So anything that you do to make yourself do a job better at council is crucial for our community. So don't be scared because you're being questioned, because I can't encourage you enough to make sure you do whatever development you need to be able to do your job properly. You've been voted in to do that, and I encourage everyone to continue doing that.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Councillor Temby, you wish to add anything?
Procedural.
Any other councillor wish to speak on the recommendation? The vote, Councillor Tesari, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Alrighty, item 10 is urgent business. I don't have any unless you'd like to raise some, councillors. Thank you. Pleased on that one. Item 11 is the announcement of our next meeting of council, which will be held on the 18th of March 2026 at Burn and Eat, commencing at 1 p.m. So we look forward to coming to Phillip Island on the 18th of March. The meeting will now be closed to members of the public pursuant to section 66 of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider items as they deal with personal information, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Tesari, seconder Councillor Thompson. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Alrighty, thank you all for watching our live stream. I am now going to adjourn the meeting at 2:39 p.m. Thank you.
Great.